Alright, imagine this. You're sitting there, scrolling through financial independence blogs, watching YouTube videos about investing, and you stumble upon M1 Finance. You see people raving about its pies, its automated investing, its borrowing features. You're intrigued, you're ready to dive in, but then, a nagging question pops into your head. A question that could completely derail your plans. A question that determines if you can even participate in this whole M1 Finance party. That question is, where in the world can I actually use M1 Finance? It's a simple question, right? But in the complex world of international finance, geographic restrictions, and regulatory hurdles, it's a question with a surprisingly nuanced answer. And frankly, it's a question that a lot of people overlook until they're already deep into the sign-up process, only to be met with a frustrating "sorry, you're not eligible." So, let's cut through the noise and get straight to the point. We're going to dissect the geographic limitations of M1 Finance, clarify who can use it, and explore why those limitations exist. We're going to arm you with the information you need to avoid any unnecessary financial heartbreak. First things first, let's get the big, glaringly obvious answer out of the way. M1 Finance is primarily a US-based platform. That means, to use M1 Finance, you need to be a U.S. resident with a valid U.S. Social Security number, SSN, or Individual Taxpayer Identification Number, ITIN. Now, some of you might be thinking, okay, that's it. Game over. If I'm not in the U.S., I'm out of luck. Well, not necessarily. There are a few nuances to consider. Let's unpack the concept of U.S. resident. This doesn't necessarily mean you have to be a U.S. citizen. You can be a lawful permanent resident, a green card holder, or even a non-resident alien with a valid SSN or ITIN. The key is that you must have a U.S. address and a U.S. tax identification number. Why the focus on U.S. tax identification? Well, M1 Finance, like all financial institutions in the U.S., is subject to strict regulations by bodies like the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, and the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, FINRA. These regulations require them to verify the identity and tax status of their clients. 1. FTHMB.TQN.com. FTHMB.TQN.com. The SSN or ITIN is a crucial piece of that verification puzzle. It allows M1 Finance to report your investment activity to the Internal Revenue Service, IRS, and ensure compliance with U.S. tax laws. Now, let's address a common misconception. Can you use M1 Finance if you're a U.S. citizen living abroad? This is where things get a little tricky. While you might still have a U.S. passport, your eligibility depends on your residency and tax status. If you maintain a U.S. address and continue to file U.S. taxes, you might be able to use M1 Finance. However, if you've completely severed your ties with the U.S., established residency in another country, and are no longer filing U.S. taxes, you'll likely run into issues. The reason for this is that M1 Finance needs to comply with the tax laws of the country where you're residing. If you're living in a country with different tax regulations, M1 Finance might not be able to provide its services to you. Furthermore, some countries have their own regulations regarding foreign investment platforms. They might require M1 Finance to obtain a license or register with their local authorities before offering its services to their residents. If M1 Finance hasn't done so, you won't be able to use the platform. Let's consider a hypothetical scenario. You're a U.S. citizen working in Canada. You still have a U.S. address, file U.S. taxes, and maintain a U.S. bank account. In this case, you might be able to use M1 Finance. However, you'll need to carefully consider the tax implications of your investments in both the U.S. and Canada. Now, let's talk about the countries that are definitely not supported by M1 Finance. This includes pretty much every country outside of the U.S. If you're living in Europe, Asia, Africa, South America, or anywhere else outside of the U.S., you won't be able to use M1 Finance. This is a common point of frustration for international investors who are looking for access to U.S. markets. They see the potential of M1 finance, but they're simply unable to use it due to their geographic location. So, why the strict limitations? Why can't M1 finance expand its services to other countries? The answer lies in the complex web of international financial regulations. Each country has its own set of rules and regulations governing investment platforms. To operate in a particular country, M1 Finance would need to comply with those regulations, which can be a time-consuming and expensive process. Furthermore, M1 Finance would need to establish partnerships with local banks and financial institutions to facilitate fund transfers and other transactions. This can be challenging, especially in countries with underdeveloped financial infrastructure. Another factor to consider is the cost of compliance. M1 Finance would need to hire legal and compliance experts in each country it operates in, which can significantly increase its operating expenses. Finally, there's the issue of risk management. Expanding into new markets exposes M1 Finance to new risks, such as currency fluctuations, political instability, and regulatory changes. All of these factors make it difficult for M1 Finance to expand its services to other countries. While the company might eventually decide to expand its operations, it's unlikely to happen in the near future. So, what are your options if you're an international investor looking for access to U.S. markets? Well, there are a few alternatives you can consider. One option is to use a brokerage platform that supports international clients. These platforms typically have a wider geographic reach and are designed to cater to the needs of international investors. Another option is to invest in exchange-traded funds, ETFs, that track U.S. market indices. These ETFs are traded on stock exchanges around the world and can be purchased through local brokerage platforms. Finally, you can consider using a robo-advisor that offers international accounts. These robo-advisors provide automated investment management services and can be a good option for investors who are looking for a hands-off approach. However, keep in mind that these alternatives might have higher fees and fewer features than M1 Finance. You'll need to carefully weigh the pros and cons of each option before making a decision. Let's summarize the key takeaways. M1 Finance is primarily a U.S.-based platform. You need to be a U.S. resident with a valid SSN or ITIN to use M1 Finance. U.S. citizens living abroad might be able to use M1 Finance, but it depends on their residency and tax status. M1 Finance is not available in any countries outside of the U.S. The limitations are due to complex international financial regulations and the cost of compliance. International investors can consider alternative brokerage platforms, ETFs, or robo-advisors. Understanding these limitations is crucial for anyone considering using M1 Finance. It allows you to set realistic expectations and avoid any unnecessary frustration. Remember, the financial world is constantly evolving. Regulations change, new platforms emerge, and investment strategies adapt. Staying informed is the best way to make sound financial decisions. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.